Let's start with a truth that most of us don't like to admit. There are people in this world who thrive on manipulation, deceit, and control. And if you've ever dealt with a narcissist or someone who just seems to enjoy making others feel small, you know how exhausting it can be. You walk away from conversations doubting yourself, questioning what just happened, and carrying emotions that weren't yours to hold in the first place. But here's the good news. Outsmarting a manipulator isn't about fighting harder or proving yourself. It's about shifting the power dynamic with a single, well-placed question. And that question is this: what did you mean by that? Sounds simple, right? But let's break it down. Narcissist manipulators operate on vague insinuations, passive-aggressive remarks, and gaslighting. They make cutting comments disguised as jokes. They twist your words, they blame you for things that don't make sense, and they do it in a way that keeps you on the defensive, always explaining, justifying, or proving yourself. But when you calmly ask, what did you mean by that? You force them into a position they hate, accountability. You see, these people don't expect to be questioned. They expect you to react emotionally, to defend yourself, to get tangled in their web of confusion, but instead you're pausing. You're making them clarify, you're putting the spotlight on them, and that's where things get interesting. A person with good intentions will have no problem answering. They'll explain themselves or even apologize if they realize their words came out wrong. But a narcissist, a manipulator, they will stutter, backtrack, get defensive, or even turn angry. Why? Because they weren't expecting to be seen. They weren't expecting to be challenged with curiosity instead of conflict. And here's the best part. You don't have to argue. You don't have to prove them wrong. You don't even have to stick around for their excuses. The moment they start scrambling to explain themselves, you've already won because you've exposed their tactic. So the next time someone tries to manipulate, undermine, or control you, don't react. Just take a breath, stand firm, and ask with calm curiosity, what did you mean by that? Then watch what happens next, because that's where the truth reveals itself. Narcissists and manipulative individuals are masters at controlling situations and people around them. They thrive on power dynamics that put others at a disadvantage, and often they do so in ways that are subtle and hard to recognize in the moment. The first step in outsmarting them is understanding the game they play. It's crucial to recognize that their goal isn't necessarily to engage in a rational or fair exchange. Rather, their goal is to control the narrative, manipulate your emotions, and leave you questioning yourself. Narcissists, in particular, derive their sense of self-worth from attention, admiration, and validation. They can't tolerate criticism or even the slightest hint that they're not the center of attention. This is why they tend to exploit people's vulnerabilities, drawing them into a cycle where they feel compelled to please or accommodate, often at the cost of their own well-being. But here's the thing, these manipulative tactics only work if you don't see them coming. If you're not aware of what's happening beneath the surface, you'll likely fall into the trap. And once you're in that trap, it becomes increasingly harder to get out because you're caught in a constant state of self-doubt. They've mastered the art of shifting blame, twisting your words, and changing the narrative in ways that leave you questioning your own reality. This tactic, known as gaslighting, is one of the most effective tools in their arsenal. They make you feel like you're losing your grip on what's real, which keeps you off balance and vulnerable. What makes these dynamics so insidious is the fact that they often occur in situations where you would expect fairness, empathy, and genuine communication. Narcissists and manipulative people don't wear a badge that says, "I'm here to manipulate you." Instead, they blend in, often disguising their behavior under the guise of concern, love, or even charm. Their actions may seem subtle at first, a seemingly innocent comment, a joke, a small manipulation of the truth, but over time, these actions accumulate and erode your sense of self. For example, let's say a narcissist in your life belittles you in front of others or makes an offhand comment about your abilities. On the surface, it might seem like they're just being critical or even teasing, but beneath the surface, they're making a calculated move to assert dominance, to remind you that they are in control and you are not. If you react emotionally, they've already won. They've gotten the reaction they wanted, and you're left feeling insecure and self-conscious. This is where the importance of understanding the game becomes clear. And once you realize that narcissists and manipulators operate based on control, you can begin to recognize their tactics and not fall for them. The key to outsmarting them isn't to fight back or to try to change their behavior, because you can't change them. Instead, it's about gaining awareness of what's happening, seeing through the veil, and refusing to play by their rules. You begin to step outside of their game and regain your autonomy. The more aware you are of the dynamics at play, the more empowered you become. By understanding the game, you can avoid the traps that narcissists set for you. Instead of feeling drawn into emotional chaos or confusion, you can calmly observe, set boundaries, and make decisions based on what's best for you, not based on their need to dominate or control. It's not about confronting them head on or getting into an argument. It's about recognizing their tactics and choosing to respond in a way that disarms them rather than feeding into their need for control. When you start to see through the manipulative games, you stop reacting and start responding with intention. And that shift, that awareness, is your greatest asset in outsmarting narcissists and toxic people. The key is to remember that you have the power to choose how you engage, and you don't have to play by their rules. Once you understand the game, you can exit it altogether, taking back your peace and reclaiming control over your own life. A single, well-placed question can be one of the most powerful tools in disarming a narcissist or manipulative person. While these individuals are often adept at creating confusion, shifting blame, and maintaining control through emotional manipulation, they do so by making you feel uncertain or defensive. The beauty of asking the right question is that it disrupts their pattern and shifts the power dynamic in an entirely different direction. Instead of you reacting emotionally or justifying yourself, you're simply using curiosity to reveal their behavior and intention. The key to asking a powerful question lies in its simplicity and its ability to make the manipulator pause and think. One of the most effective questions in these situations is, what did you mean by that? This question is deceptively simple, but it serves multiple purposes. First, it forces the person to slow down and clarify their words. Narcissists and manipulators thrive on ambiguity. They often make vague or pointed statements that are designed to create confusion or guilt in the person they're engaging with. When you ask them to explain themselves, it makes their intent more apparent, often exposing their manipulation. Secondly, this question immediately shifts the conversation away from you and places the focus back on them. Narcissists thrive on keeping the spotlight on themselves, and they often want you to react in ways that will give them power over you. They may try to provoke you into an emotional response, often twisting your words or making passive-aggressive comments. By asking, what did you mean by that? You're no longer giving them the reaction they crave. Instead, you're asking them to own their words and defend their statements. This subtly shifts the power from the manipulator to you. You no longer have to react emotionally or justify your feelings. You're simply inviting them to clarify their intentions. What's most important in asking this question is the way you say it. When you ask it with calm curiosity and without aggression, it creates a moment of pause for the narcissist or manipulator. They are no longer able to continue in their manipulative behavior without being questioned. At that moment, they have to either explain themselves or get defensive. The vulnerability they feel when confronted with this simple request for clarification often catches them off guard. It's important to note that the impact of this question comes from your response to their reaction. Narcissists and toxic individuals will rarely answer a question like this in a straightforward, honest way. Instead, they'll often try to deflect, deny, or escalate the situation. They may get angry, attempt to gaslight you, or even turn the question back on you. However, the beauty of this technique is that their response will reveal their true intentions. If they become defensive, evasive, or hostile, it's a clear indication that they're trying to hide something. This allows you to see them for who they truly are without having to engage in a power struggle or become emotionally entangled in their tactics. Asking this question gives you a sense of control and clarity. It allows you to take a step back from the situation and evaluate whether the behavior you're experiencing is manipulative or simply a misunderstanding. Narcissists thrive on keeping people in a state of confusion, making them second-guess their own perceptions by posing a direct, calm question. You're asserting that you won't be easily swayed by ambiguity or emotional manipulation. This, in turn, gives you the clarity and peace of mind to decide how you want to move forward in the interaction. At its core, the question, "What did you mean by that?" forces the manipulator to reveal their true nature. If they're truly interested in a genuine conversation or resolution, they'll answer honestly and engage in the discussion. But if they're trying to manipulate or deceive, their defensiveness or avoidance will show you exactly where they stand. This question strips away the layers of control and posturing, exposing the truth in a way that leaves the manipulator with no easy way out. The power of one question lies in its ability to shift the narrative. Instead of continuing down a path of confusion, emotional escalation, or self-doubt, you can use this question to redirect the conversation, regain control of the situation, and expose any manipulative behavior. It's a subtle but incredibly effective tool that allows you to navigate interactions with narcissists and toxic people without falling into their traps. When dealing with narcissists and manipulative individuals, it's easy to get caught in an emotional whirlwind that drains your energy and leaves you questioning your own responses. Narcissists and manipulative people are experts at avoiding responsibility and deflecting blame. They thrive on creating confusion and making others feel like they're the problem. This tactic is designed to shift the focus away from their actions and place the burden of guilt or responsibility on you, making it difficult for you to confront their behavior directly. However, this is where the power of emotional mastery comes in. When you remain calm, composed, and curious, you take away their ability to control the situation through manipulation and instead regain your sense of peace and control. One of the most powerful things you can do in these situations is to refuse to get caught up in the emotional games they play. Narcissists and manipulators feed off emotional responses, especially when they can provoke anger, fear, or confusion. When you react emotionally, it gives them a sense of victory. They can then redirect the conversation, distract you, or undermine your confidence. This is why it's so important to learn how to master your own emotions. By maintaining composure and responding with curiosity rather than reaction, you not only protect your emotional well-being, but also stop feeding into their need for control. The key here is to recognize that emotional mastery doesn't mean suppressing your feelings. It means acknowledging your emotions without letting them dictate your actions. Narcissists want you to feel angry, upset, or frustrated because those emotions make you more vulnerable. But when you acknowledge that you're feeling upset without allowing that emotion to dictate your behavior, you're taking back control. You're no longer allowing them to manipulate your emotional state. Instead, you choose to respond with intentionality, staying calm and curious, which immediately disarms them. When you respond thoughtfully rather than emotionally, it can throw them off, especially when they expect you to react defensively or angrily. For example, a common tactic of narcissists is to shift blame onto you. They might accuse you of something you didn't do or point out a flaw in your character to deflect attention from their own actions. If you fall into the trap of defending yourself or trying to explain your innocence, you're already playing their game. They want you to prove your worth or fight for validation. Instead, if you remain calm and ask them, "What did you mean by that?" you disarm them by not engaging in the blame game. By responding with emotional control, you give yourself space to think critically, assess the situation, and decide on the best course of action without being caught up in an emotional spiral. When you maintain emotional mastery, you're also setting a powerful boundary. Narcissists and toxic individuals often try to blur the lines between appropriate behavior and manipulation, and they do so by pushing your emotional button. When you respond thoughtfully, it sends a clear message that you will not tolerate their manipulative behavior. You're not giving in to the urge to react or defend, but instead, you're calmly redirecting the conversation back to the point of clarity. It's important to understand that narcissists and manipulative people are rarely interested in having a genuine conversation. They're interested in controlling the narrative, making you feel inferior, or avoiding responsibility. But by mastering your emotional responses, you not only protect yourself from their tactics, but also send a message that you're not going to be easily manipulated. This is where curiosity becomes your ally. Curiosity allows you to stay centered even in the face of chaos. Instead of getting lost in the emotional undertow, you ask the question that brings the focus back to them, forcing them to reveal their true intentions. By refusing to engage emotionally and instead responding with calm curiosity and clarity, you regain the upper hand in any interaction. Narcissists and manipulators thrive when they can control your emotional reactions, but when you stop reacting and start responding with composure, you create a space where they cannot thrive. Emotional mastery doesn't require perfection. It's about recognizing your emotions without letting them dictate your behavior. In doing so, you protect your peace, reclaim your power, and neutralize the narcissist's ability to control or manipulate the situation. Emotional reactivity is one of the most significant vulnerabilities when dealing with narcissists and toxic individuals. These people are skilled at pushing your buttons, often with the goal of provoking a reaction, whether it's anger, guilt, frustration, or confusion. They thrive on these emotional responses because they can use them to manipulate the situation in their favor. The challenge is not only recognizing that you're being manipulated, but also learning to break free from the cycle of emotional reaction that keeps you stuck in their control. When you stop reacting to their provocations, you regain control over the interaction. And this shift is key to maintaining your own emotional and mental well-being. One of the most common ways narcissists and manipulators gain control is by creating emotional chaos. They may make a hurtful comment, start an argument over something trivial, or undermine your self-esteem through subtle or overt criticisms. In these moments, the natural instinct is to defend yourself, argue back, or get emotionally triggered. However, this is exactly what they want. When you react, they win because they've successfully pulled you into their game of emotional manipulation. The moment you react emotionally, you're no longer in control of the conversation, and the focus shifts from addressing the manipulator's behavior to justifying your own actions. Instead of reacting impulsively, a better approach is to consciously choose to respond in a calm and collected manner. The key to doing this lies in mastering emotional awareness. When you feel yourself starting to react emotionally, whether it's irritation, anger, or hurt, take a moment to pause. This brief moment of pause allows you to assess the situation, understand what's happening, and decide how you want to respond. It's in this moment that emotional reactivity can be neutralized and you can regain control over how you interact with a manipulator. By learning to respond with curiosity instead of defensiveness, you create a space where the manipulator has less power. Curiosity allows you to step back and detach from the emotional turbulence. You begin to see their manipulative behaviors for what they truly are, rather than getting swept away by them. For instance, when they make a hurtful or unfair comment, instead of reacting with frustration or anger, you can respond with a simple question like, "What did you mean by that?" This question invites clarity and forces the manipulator to explain themselves, which in many cases can expose their ulterior motives. What's crucial here is the ability to stay grounded. Narcissists and toxic individuals will often escalate a situation when they sense they are losing control, and they may try to provoke you further. If they notice that they're not getting the emotional reaction they expect, they may become frustrated, defensive, or even hostile. However, the key is to stay unshaken. Your emotional calmness not only prevents them from controlling you, but also gives you the opportunity to maintain your dignity and peace of mind. When you remain composed, you create a boundary that separates your emotional world from theirs, ensuring that you are not pulled into their manipulative tactics. Emotional mastery doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending they don't exist. It means recognizing your feelings without allowing them to dictate your actions. By acknowledging that you're feeling hurt, angry, or upset, you can address your emotions in a healthy way. You can take time to process your feelings privately rather than allowing the manipulator to turn them into a tool for their own advantage. This emotional detachment doesn't require coldness or indifference. Rather, it's about maintaining a level of self-awareness and emotional regulation that allows you to engage from a place of strength, not reactivity. As you begin to practice emotional mastery, you'll notice that the power these toxic individuals once held over you starts to dissipate. Their words no longer trigger the same level of emotional turmoil, and you're better equipped to handle difficult situations with poise. You no longer need to prove yourself or justify your actions because you're no longer playing by their rules. Instead of getting sucked into their emotional manipulations, you respond with clarity, calm, and intentionality. This shift in how you respond empowers you to set healthier boundaries and protects you from the emotional and psychological toll that narcissists and manipulative people often impose. The ability to stop reacting and start responding is what enables you to take control of the situation. Narcissists thrive on emotional chaos, but when you stop engaging in that chaos, you prevent them from gaining the upper hand. Emotional mastery is a skill that allows you to retain your peace and dignity while also giving you the ability to engage with toxic individuals in a way that doesn't leave you drained or vulnerable. This is the first step in reclaiming your emotional sovereignty and disengaging from the cycle of manipulation. When dealing with narcissists and manipulative individuals, the ultimate goal is not to defeat them in their own game, but rather to disengage from the toxic cycle altogether. These individuals thrive on control, chaos, and keeping others emotionally entangled in their webs. They often push boundaries, create confusion, and manipulate situations to maintain their dominance. But the more you try to engage in their game, the more you fuel their behavior. Instead of fighting them on their terms, the most powerful move you can make is to remove yourself from the game entirely. This is where setting and enforcing boundaries becomes not just a tactic, but a life-changing decision that will protect your emotional well-being and sense of self. Setting boundaries with narcissists and manipulators is crucial because they often don't respect others' limits. They see boundaries as a challenge to their control, and they will frequently try to push them to see how much they can get away with. However, when you choose to set clear, firm boundaries and refuse to engage with them in ways that don't serve your well-being, you start to take back control of your life. The key is understanding that boundaries aren't about controlling the other person's behavior. They're about protecting yourself from their toxic influence. To reclaim your power, the first step is recognizing that you don't need to engage with every toxic behavior or manipulation. Narcissists often seek validation, attention, or control, and they'll use whatever means necessary to get it. The best way to thwart their tactics is to stop feeding into their need for constant attention and emotional responses. This means choosing not to react when they provoke you. It also means deciding to limit or even cut off contact when necessary, especially if their behavior is consistently harmful. By refusing to engage in their game, you take away their ability to manipulate you emotionally, and in doing so, you disrupt the toxic cycle they thrive on. Setting boundaries can take many forms depending on the level of manipulation and toxicity you're dealing with. It may be as simple as walking away when a conversation becomes hostile, or refusing to tolerate insults or disrespect. In more extreme cases, it could mean cutting ties altogether if the relationship is too damaging to your mental and emotional health. It's essential to recognize that the act of setting a boundary is not about changing the narcissist's behavior. It's about protecting yourself and ensuring that their toxicity does not continue to affect you. The beauty of setting boundaries lies in the fact that you don't have to explain or justify them. Narcissists often expect you to make concessions or compromise in ways that serve their needs, but when you set boundaries, you make it clear that your needs and well-being are non-negotiable. If they try to push back, become defensive, or escalate the situation, you simply stand firm in your boundary. This is where the practice of emotional mastery and curiosity comes in. Rather than getting caught in their emotional manipulation, you calmly acknowledge their resistance and remain steadfast in your decision to protect yourself. When you stop engaging with toxic individuals and stop playing by their rules, something remarkable happens. You reclaim your peace. Instead of constantly trying to manage their behavior or explain yourself, you take back control over how you interact with them. This doesn't mean you're giving up. Rather, you're choosing to preserve your energy for things that truly matter. It means that your focus shifts from trying to fix the relationship or change the narcissist's behavior to focusing on your own growth, self-care, and well-being. This shift is incredibly powerful because it's a decision that removes you from the toxic cycle. Narcissists thrive on keeping people hooked in their drama and emotional chaos. When you decide to step away, set boundaries, and disengage, you deny them the emotional investment they need to continue manipulating you. You stop feeding their need for attention, validation, and control. By doing so, you create space for healthier relationships and emotional environments that support your growth and well-being. The key to outsmarting narcissists and manipulators is to stop giving them the power to control your emotions and actions. By disengaging from their toxic influence, setting firm boundaries, and refusing to play their game, you not only protect your emotional and mental health, but also reclaim your personal power. You are no longer a participant in their manipulative dance. Instead, you're choosing to live life on your own terms, with peace, clarity, and self-respect at the forefront.